What is going on, guys? Datcoopguy here. Today we're going to be jumping in and doing a rogue build in Diablo 4. We're specifically going to be focusing on a leveling build. This one is going to be more of a melee-based trapping build, and I'm also going to do a marksmanship one in another video following this one shortly after, and eventually we'll be doing some in-game builds once I hit level 50 and start doing some of the Paragon content on my rogue. So, the first thing is, rogue is definitely a little bit of a more fun solo class as it does lots of large amounts of damage, but it also has a little bit of a rough time with survival, so it's important that you make your toolkit balanced around all of these different things. So, for starters, what is the first thing you're going to pick up? You're going to pick up Puncture, a nice little kind of range-based attack that bases it based off of your weapons. And then you're going to do it to where you gain additional energy with Punctured when they have crowd control. From there, you're going to want to get Fundamental Puncture. This makes it to where instead of it's a small cone of 3 blades that's tossed in front of you, dealing a portion of the damage, but if an enemy is hit with at least 2 of the blades, they get vulnerable, which partners up really well because if they have crowd control, then you get additional 2 energy, providing a very nice way of getting a bunch of energy really quick. From there, we're going to pick up Flurry, and you're going to put 5 points into it. This is going to be one of your main damaging spells. From there, you're going to want to get Enhanced version, where each time it damages a crowd control opponent, basically with our good old ability here, it makes it to where you gain life. So obviously helps out very nicely with that. From there, you're going to make it to where if they're vulnerable, it has an ability to spread to other enemies, making it to where we get more procs. From here, we're going to pick up good old Caltrips here. The reason we're going to be picking that is not really so much for the ability itself, but because they gain an increased amount of damage for each second that they stand in there. And on top of it, they gain a 5% crit against enemies in there, and it doubles for vulnerable enemies. So we have a 10% crit chance just from the enemies standing inside of there. From there, this is where you can do a few different things. If you want to get more damage, you can do Poison Trap. Go down Poison Trap, go into the Knockdown, and go into this one right here, Countering Poison Trap, as this will help out with a skill we're about to pick up later on. So if you want to do more damage, that's one of the abilities there. Me personally, I like having Survival and Unstoppable, as this allows me to be able to break out of any crowd controls. So I usually pick up that. I make it to where it gives me additional energy, so I'm able to do a nice little flurry setup. And then from there, I make it to where it does a guaranteed critical strike. The other one makes it to where more creatures are vulnerable after you pop it, which isn't bad. But we have so many other different ways of getting vulnerable right now, I really don't think it's needed. But you can switch if you're doing AoE based content. This one's not a bad one, but I like doing this as I can do a lot of really cool setups with it. From there, you're actually going to want to pick up Poison Imbuement. Then from there, you're going to make it to where its duration is extended. And we're going to make it to where critical strikes with the poison imbued skills deal 75% increased poison damage. The other one is also really good, but with us having that guaranteed crit from Concealment, we could pop Concealment with our imbuement and make it to where we do critical strikes with poison imbued skills, making it to where it overall goes really well when we pop our flurry there. From there, you're going to want to actually not get into Deadly Venom yet. You're actually going to want to put 3 points into Exploit. This makes it to where we deal 18% more damage when we're first attacking them and when they're about to die. Now from here, we need to put an additional point. Poison damage is not a bad one, but we're actually going to do it with the Vulnerable because we have so many abilities that combo with the Vulnerable right now at the moment. And from here, you're going to want to pick up Death Trap. Death Trap is just a really powerful ability. It does massive amounts of damage, and with it, you can have it to where it pulls them in, and you can have it to where its cooldown is reduced for each enemy it's killed within there. Now, this is pretty much the build that you're going to be running in the early game. Additional pointers that you're going to be later on doing is you're going to be going into like some of the stuff over here, so specifically Deadly Venom. And also, on top of it, you can switch out Concealment later on to get Poison Trap, but right now I kind of like having that Unstoppable ability and having that guaranteed crit style. But from here, we're actually going to jump into some combat, see how it works in action, and show you what this build has to offer. Alright, let's do some combat here. It's found ourselves a very nice little cellar here. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up with Caltrips and our Death Trap. So I'm going to drop that there, pop that, make this to where whatever my next ability is a crit, and Go over here and attack these guys. Pop that over there. Try to get some people vulnerable. Pop that again. We're actually going to retreat a little bit here. Make it to where we do some increased damage. Concealment. And there we go. And as you can see, that was quite a few different enemies there, but overall the damage is good. Even with me whiffing that flurry there, I was still able to kill everything pretty much with ease. So, in general, let's talk about general tips with this class. Caltrips, you pop that down there to give them a slow effect, but also, because as we're attacking with puncture, we're giving them vulnerable, making it to where they have a 10% crit chance, making it to where they take even more damage with that on top of it. So basically, they're vulnerable, they're taking more damage, and on top of it, they have a higher chance of being critted on, making it to where we can do some really powerful stuff with not only our flurry, but our flurry with the poison imbuement, dealing crazy amounts of damage. And to make it even better, we have it to where we have concealment, to where we can also make it to where we have a guaranteed crit attack when we do our flurry. And that's basically just the general of the build. It's just a lot of comboing vulnerable, poison, and crit, and making it to where we absolutely mop the floor with a lot of these enemies. Now, one of the biggest things that is going to be important going forward, though, is make sure that you do prioritize also adding a few different points into not only just adding a little bit more damage, but you're going to also want to eventually pick up some stuff to make it to where you're less likely to take as much damage. That's going to be very important when you're leveling up. I am going to have a link in the description to the talent tree for anybody that is wanting to get up a little bit higher. I'm going to have it up to level 40 if you want to follow along with that guide or make your own respective choices until I post later on my in-game build once I hit level 50. I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe and check out any of my other builds if you're thinking about trying out any of the other classes, and I will see you guys next time.